Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rand, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Saturday, January 7th, 2023, after 3 p.m. Eastern. An optimist is a person who sees a green light everywhere, while a pessimist sees only the red stoplight. The truly wise person is colorblind. Albert Schweitzer. One of the most positive, important things we can practice in this life is to remain open to a positive shift in perception. And that means you could be your perception could be really in a low-key area. Now, if we want to live with any type of sustainable happiness in this crazy world, our perception of reality is everything. Perception is the backbone to enlightenment, and a divine perception is effortlessly seeing how joyful, expansive, and fully fulfilling every experience of this life truly. Every experience in this life contains a connection to a higher state of consciousness. And when our minds are open, we can always find it, no matter what the challenging person, situation, or problem might be. Now, if we can sit back and see with fresh eyes, an open heart, and an insatiable curiosity, all difficulty fades away, and the situation becomes brand new. Creating a divine change in perception is pretty darn simple. It starts with being open to the possibility that a divine guidance, a higher God source, overflowing with clarity, connection, and love, is in everything. Everything. It is even in the awareness that is already here right now. With this awesome state of awareness, we are no longer following the incessant hungry chatter of the mind that's wandering around the world like a lost puppy. With conscious awareness, we are more interested in leading the pack back home to devour the most succulent and expansive life experiences available to us. When we choose to start feeling, smelling, tasting, touching, hearing, and observing life through this open mind, this quiet heart, and awesome unfiltered awareness, we perceive divinity is here now. In every single experience of this life, this is the divine state. The most super juicy ride a human life can take. Absolutely amazing how incredible this life can be with such a simple, divine change in perception. Consciousness can only observe what undergoes change. Consciousness can only observe what undergoes change. That which is eternal cannot be observed by consciousness or known by it. Unless you meditate on this point, the puzzle will not be solved. Nisargadatta. And what is eternal? You, the God that you are in that body. And until you discover it for yourself, with your own, making your own decisions, the puzzle will not be solved. Now, if and when we want to experience the fast track to making this divine internal shift happen, then we need to experience one simple yet very courageous thing. Change what you put in your mouth and the words that come out of your mouth for 36 hours. Right? Change what you put in your mouth and the words that come out of your mouth for 36 hours. The mouth is our sacred portal to transformation. When we shift the content of what's flowing in and out of it, everything internally will quickly change. Our mouths are powerful tools and should be greatly respected for the transformation that they can do for us. If and when we want to see real miracles manifest this coming week in our lives, then make a radical shift in your diet. Clean out your internal hardware with a 3-day green juice cleanse. And only drink clean water. Distilled water is dead. So you want like structured water, clean water, or green juice during this time. It is by far the fastest way to clear and release the extra kilos of mucus and muck stored up in our subconscious basement of 28 feet of intestinal tract. Clean your pipes out. You will create an instant positive shift in perception and truly see the bigger picture of your life. To initiate this amazing cleanse, start your mornings meditating for 5 minutes on your heart. Quiet your mind. Feel into what the heart of God might feel like. Always try to remain open to feeling everything that arises inside you. This open heart approach is a key ingredient to the most expansive positive shift in perception. Set the intention each morning to expand beyond your heart's comfort zone and into a space of deeper honesty with yourself. This radical shift in our diet begins with 100% willpower, yet then reveals the real magic. When all willpower has subsided, hold on to the intention of seeing and feeling the divine in everything and everyone. Now, it's been discovered that this profound perception cannot be forced, yet only comes through absolute surrender and letting go of how your old eyes viewed reality. Now, when we are not eating our normal ego gratifying foods, our emotional bodies will tend to revolt, get cranky, and we may feel hangry. When calorie intake is lower than normal, our energy supply has to reach for higher levels. This is when our deeper spiritual assignment in this life kicks in. When the mind loses the plot, start to breathe deeply for 3 to 5 minutes into the belly. And soon the light of pure consciousness will come pouring in. The light of divine perception is already inside every one of us. We just have to remove the muck so it can find its way through. Holding an intention in this life can often become confused with holding onto desire. Holding an intention in this life can often become confused with holding onto desire. In this world of manifesting, they are exactly the opposite. There's no attachment or expectation when we have an intention to create an experience. There is no attachment, no expectation when we have an intention to create an experience. We're simply living in awe of how the magic of the manifesting universe works. When we are relaxed in ourselves, completely at ease, because we are trusting the magic of the mind, we are not clinging to any desire because we feel so deeply connected with the infinite spiritual source within us. We are trusting this universe has got our backs and enjoyably immersed in our surrender to the totality of this existence. It is only through letting go of the old that we create a new space to arrive at a different dimension of reality. In order to go from 3D to 5D, we must pass through the heart at 4D. People always ask, where's 4D? 4D is through the heart. The heart is the gateway to altering our divine perception of reality. There is no easier way to feel the source of God is here now, in our every breath, thought, and movement, simply by being completely open and surrendered to each moment it naturally finds its way into us. Now, are we open to having a divine change in perception tonight? This is something that we ask ourselves. And many people try, it's like they try too hard. They overextend themselves, like they think that they really have to grip and grind to understand this. And it's opening up. Maybe some of you have experienced through this life, maybe in other lives, where you're in a space, it's not like you intended, at least consciously not intended. And I've used this before, where you're laying on a hammock. We all know what a hammock is. And it's a sunshiny day. And you got the hammock tied on each tree. There's a tree at the foot and a tree at the lay in it. And you decide, for no particular reason, something moves you, and you decide to go lay in the hammock. So when you're lying in the hammock, you figure, well, I'll get a book and I'll read, and I'll just kind of kick back. And you find yourself moving into a state of ease. Have you ever been that way? Where you're not really asleep, but you're not really awake. You can hear noises in the background, far off, not disturbing, lightly. You might hear a dog barking. You might hear a lawnmower, but not disturbing, way off. And then all of a sudden, you don't hear that at all. You hear the wind, the breeze through the trees, through the leaves. It seems distant, even though it's right there. And you're not thinking, and you're not worrying, and you're not stressing, and you're not fearing. You're just being. You don't move. You're almost like a statue. You have no motivation to move. You have no motivation to move anything of your body. Your breathing is easy. Your eyes are closed. It's like you're in a stasis in total peace. Now imagine that that is your natural state of being. Everything else is not. The fear, the frustration, right? The motivation, the push of the ego mind. You always got to keep pushing. And what does that create for us? Stress. There really isn't anybody on this planet that doesn't experience stress. Because we're not at ease. And we focus on everything that we don't want. You can do an experiment with yourself. Maybe you had a dream. The dream wasn't really pleasant. You remember the dream in pieces. So you put the intent out that you desire to have a dream of opposite nature of the dream that you had the night before. It's a subtle desire. It isn't a super concentration, right? It isn't an obsession. So that night you go to bed, and lo and behold, you have a wonderful dream, totally the opposite of that dream. There is not anything that any of us, the gods that we are in these bodies, or you could call it pure consciousness, pure deep eternal love. It's all there. Soul, higher self, spirit, it's all one. So you hold, if you're holding an intention in this life, it can often become confused with holding on to desire. Because there is no attachment or expectation when we have an intention to create an experience. We have all been taught the opposite. We've all been taught to fight and grip and scrape and pull and push and dive and run and jump throughout the entire life. It can become very exhausting at times. And all along, we're spending no time with the gods that we are in these bodies. All along, we're spending all of our time outside of ourselves. And some of us put forth a whole heck of a lot of energy doing that. Some people have asked, well, when you go within, what do? You just be, you relax, you let everything go. And I'm not saying for some people, they believe that if they let things go, that they're going to lose. They're going to lose something. It's the ego mind talking, because it's so insecure anyway. But letting go just means that you don't attach to it. Let's put it this way. You could walk into a building, and the building that you have, and inside the building, from floor to ceiling, is money. Now, if you were attached to the money, you would absolutely be a nervous wreck 24/7. You would become concerned about if anybody's going to try and steal it, or if it's going to catch fire, or it's not going to be worth anything, or it's not enough. And then when you're not attached to it, it doesn't matter if it's there or not. It's there. You're not attached to it, and you use it. If you're attached to a certain life, like this life, and you've moved into a habit of this life, which most of us do. Some of us are constantly running from our lives, trying to do all sorts of things. Others are figuring out how to go within and stay within. Now, the challenging part of all that, it's a kind of a gray area. When you intend something, when you say, universe, I want this, period, and this is what it is. Now, I have all the faith and trust and confidence in you and myself. Attachment would be, and universe, give me the time and date that what I've asked you for will come. That's attachment. So you understand, when we have attachment, what happens to anything? We suffer. How do we suffer? We're let down, we're disappointed. That's suffering. We get angry and upset because it didn't work. That's attachment. Expectations. Have you ever been in a situation where you've attached yourself to something, right? And you're attached and you have expectations as to when that will happen, and then you begin to start going through things that you have expectations about. You ever hear people say, I never expected that? Or have you said to yourself, I never expected that to happen? And here's an example. Let's say that you're looking at something, catches your eye, right? Could be anything. And it's like it pulls you towards it. You want it. Now, you don't really have any idea how you're going to get it, but you know you want it, and it's number one priority at that moment. You want that. You've got to have that. Now, there's two avenues, and they're meant to teach us, obviously. The one avenue is that one person will say, universe, I want this, and describe it in detail. And from the heart mind, not the head. And then you describe it, and you know that you have total faith, trust, and confidence in yourself and the universe. The universe always has your back, always will have your back. Many just don't even recognize that. And then you let it go. You aren't concerned about when, how, period. You just know that it is manifesting. It is energy. You're taking energy, you're moving it into form, and you're creating it into reality, whatever it may be. And then you experience it. These meditations that we do for the past 5 years, They're helping every one of us to learn how to go within and to understand who and what we are. Every aspect, every avenue that we will continue to explore. Some will, some won't. Not a big deal. But it's the plant of the seed, and it depends on what we choose to nurture. But what is the biggest deterrent for us, as the gods that we are in these bodies, to do that? What is it that holds us back? And understand, whatever it is an illusion. And to you, it seems mighty real. So what do you do, therefore? The fear, the doubt, the guilt, the unsureness, lack of confidence, lack of faith, lack of trust in oneself, that all plays an important role on why we haven't created the life we want to live. And by letting go and saying, I am deeply grateful for exactly the way I am in this very moment. That's letting go. Letting go of expectations and attachments. Well, some of us say they don't like their lives. They would like to have a different life. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's the ego mind's insecurity. This isn't good enough. We've got to get better. And by surrendering at the very moment you're in and having deep gratitude exactly the way you are in that moment, that's when everything starts coming to you and not running away from you. This is when things happen for you and not to you. Do you ever feel that you're in a race and there's so many in the race, you can't turn around, you can't sidestep off to the road, off to the side of the road, the shoulder, you can't even move, you're locked in this one space at high speed, and everybody else around you is doing the same thing. And there's a moment here and there that you will say to yourself, man, I would really like to take a break and just jump off to the side here. I'm not really concerned. I don't really care about all these other people, what they're doing. That's their business. That's their direction. But I really would like to take a break and get off the side. And you look around, you're just mugged in there. And then you start to realize is that all you've got to do is focus on what you want. I want some room to open up so I can exit this rat race. And lo and behold, a space opens up for you to exit. And then you feel relieved. You feel absolutely light. You feel like tons of heaviness have been lifted off your shoulders. And then you say, I'd like to watch this. I was in it. Now I want to watch it. I want to look at it from afar. So you go up high enough, elevate high enough, and then you look down and you see where you were stuck in that race. And you go, I was right there. And you say, look at all those people. They aren't looking around or anything. Their faces, their eyes are straight forward. They aren't even blinking, and they're all running as fast as they can. And none of them really knows where they're going, why they're running. Totally oblivious to what's going on around them. This is the rat race. You ever seen rats in colonies? When they move, they're all stuck together mostly, and they're all moving, all scurrying. They're moving as fast as they can go. Do they know where they're going? They have no idea. It's just that they move in packs. So in this life, it is very easy for any of us with the ego mind to be stuck right there in that space and not have any control or direction because everybody's running and you're hooked right in that running. Do you ever feel hurried in this life? You know, it's not like someone's hurrying you. No one hurries us. Nothing hurries us. We hurry us. We decide if we're going to be in a hurry. Nobody else does, right? You know, you might oversleep, and then you're in a turmoil and a tizzy, and you're running around. You're grabbing this and grabbing that, and you got to get this and that. And what are you afraid of? Isn't it amazing? You're afraid of what? That you might be disciplined at work, might get fired, or embarrassed by the other employees. What will they think of me? And all of this turmoil is ego mind. You'd be amazed what happens when you slow down, right? And how the time slows down with you. Now, constantly looking at the clock and seeing, oh, I'm way behind, way behind, way behind. You don't look at anything. You slow down. You've heard of the phrase many times in this life where people will say, stop and smell the coffee, right? Or smell the flowers along your way. Take a break. So many of us are so conditioned in the material physical world that we lose sight of the fact that we're the commander and master of this ship, the body. We're the commander and master. We're the creator of our lives. We create our futures. We fill the past with the now. The now moments become past moments. And since we've been in the physical material world over and over again, we're dictated to through the ego mind how to be. How to be. How to be accepted in this social structure. This is all an example of how much time we spend outside of ourselves. And the wonderful experiences that we've had the opportunity to experience, the highs, the lows, the ups, the downs, the flatness. And the question is being presented more and more to all of us. Do I truly want to be immersed in the material physical world? Or am I truly desiring and intending to start experiencing inside me? Now, all of us, not just this lifetime, but many, have experienced lots of things. Good, bad, ugly. But just about all of it has been outside of us. How can any of us be truly powerful if we don't know who and what we are in these bodies? How can you do that? You can't. And to many of us, it's the unknown. And to many, the unknown is very frightening. because they have no idea what's there. Someone says to another, there are steps there off that cliff. But the way the sunlight is and everything, you can't see them. They're made of a certain kind of material, right? Your ego mind is sitting there saying, well, you must be crazy because all I see is just dead air. And if I walk off that cliff, I'm convinced I will fall to my death. Right? And the voice that you're hearing that's saying to you, it's safe, go do it, it's safe, is the God within you. Would I ask you to jump off of a cliff? But see, since we don't go within, not a lot, we don't trust. We don't trust that because we're so immersed in the material physical world. And our eyes deceive us many times. You ever heard the old, saying, never judge a book by its cover? A wolf in sheep's clothing? See, our process is we judge through the ego mind. We judge ourselves. In fact, the hardest judging we do is on ourselves. And so we understand eventually that, so if I'm judging myself, I'm being hard on myself, there's no reason for me to do that. Therefore, we're hard on others and judge others. Now, when we decide for ourselves to say I'm no longer going to judge myself, I don't care to engage in that. That's a very low frequency. And therefore, I won't judge others. I'm going to take care of myself, be kind to myself, gentle to myself, generous and humble with myself at all times. I am going to exist in deep gratitude 24/7. Now, mind you, since we've all been so conditioned with the ego mind, that's not easy to do. It isn't. Because the ego mind has such a tight grip on us, it's for many, they look at that and they say, how am I supposed to do that? And not knowing that every one of us has been programmed by other people's thoughts. But it's a good thing because now we're going within and we're looking at these things about ourselves, not judging ourselves and deciding, I forgive myself for all of these things. And most of the time, they're trivial. But we drag them with us and we feel guilty and we feel depressed and we feel pulled at times. And this is why when you say you surrender, I'm surrendering to all this. I'm letting it go. You're not giving it up. You're not quitting. You're letting it go. You're not holding on to it anymore. Right? And most of us grip white-knuckle things. We white-knuckle relationships with ourselves and others. And this is a norm for us. Whatever that norm, whatever definition of that norm is. And all of this information that I share with everybody, and then you go into the quiet time of this meditation, and you focus on your breath, easy in to the nose, easy out through the mouth, and you listen to your breath. And you listen. And some of this vibrational frequency that I'm hearing with you will come into be. It will address you, parts of it, everybody differently, but it will address you. And you'll meditate upon it. Meditating is being still, relaxing the body, focusing on the breath, and listening. And what you're doing is you're leaving the ego mind alone. Exactly what you're doing, because you have moved yourself intentionally into the now, moment to moment. And you say to yourself, can I guarantee that I will wake up in the morning? No, none of us can. I don't care how old you are or how young you are. Can I go back in the past and change a mistake I made? No, because you learned from that mistake. That experience helped you move further forward. And see, here's the biggie for all of us to really, truly feel through the heart mind. Remember, fourth dimension through the heart. Heart is the gateway to the God, 5D, to the God that we are in these bodies. And when you come to full understanding, and I'm not saying that it's a real cinch, but eventually it will start seeping in that you will know that you are not this body that you're in. You're very grateful for the body to carry you around, but you're not the body. And you know the body's temporary, right? Whether temporary means 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 3,000 years, 50 years, 100 years, whatever you choose, length of time that you want to be in a physical form. That's the way it should be. And that's the way it is transforming to be. But you will know. It's like, I really like this suit. It's really comfortable, right? But I know it's time to let it go. It's tattered. It's worn. It doesn't fit me right anymore. I've had it a long time, great relationship with it, but it's time to let it go. Okay? When we get into the understanding that that is not a big deal anymore, that we leave the body, we move and transform into new bodies, new physical forms, new experiences. It would be like, and it will happen ahead of us, because we're creating it in this very moment. You'll have a conversation, a group of you, right? Someone might be 500, another 1,000, another 1,500, another 5,000, and you're all talking. And you say to yourselves, let's say Bob, right, says to everybody, I've been thinking, guys, I've been in this body for 3,000 years. I've really experienced a lot. I'm deeply grateful for all of it. But I'm getting this kind of adventuresome type feeling where it's time for me to leave this body and take on new adventures in this endless journey. And everybody said, well, that's great, Bob. Have you thought about what you're going to do? Not really. Not really. I'm not rushing myself. I'm not in a race with myself. But I just thought I'd let you all know. And so they clap. They said, Bob, thanks for sharing that with us. And then Bob says, well, how about any of you? You guys ready? You'd like to come with me? And they said, no. We're pretty grateful for being in these bodies and the things that we're experiencing and how we've helped transform the planet and the civilization, a whole new direction. And just being in that frequency and that energy is phenomenal. Which means natural state of being, which is our natural state of being, is happiness, joy, bliss, love, and total peace. That's our natural state. That's the gods that we are in these bodies. Always vibrating that. Externally, we've learned that that's not our natural state. It's temporary. Yes, we can be involved in the physical material world, and we can enjoy things, and we get happy about things, and we can cry about things, but it's temporary. It's not continual. And then we discover that all of the things that we've been seeking, outside of ourselves in each lifetime, all the answers to that are within us. Isn't that? It's just so ironic that we spend every life outside of ourselves seeking the truth, yet all of it, all the answers to our questions are within us. And now, when you do get a taste of it, it might be just a smidgen. You might just have this wonderful feeling in your chest. It's just lightness. And you're not sure why you're having it, because there really isn't anything externally that would motivate you to have that. But all of a sudden you have this wonderful feeling. It's fleeting. It doesn't stay with you for very long. But it's the bliss from the God that you are in that body bubbling up. Now, the ego mind will constantly try to tell you, that's unrealistic. That's fantasy land. That's not real. Just forget about it. Okay? And so the ego mind wants you to challenge your own existence with the God that you are. Because it wants you to believe that it's in charge, and it always will be in charge. That's it. And you're to follow it wherever it wants you to go. Now, what's really interesting for us is that we are pure, deep, eternal love. The gods that we are in these bodies. Pure cosmic energy. Light energy. Omnipotently powerful. Cannot be destroyed. And yet we have, in this physical world, and by being programmed by other people's thoughts when we enter these baby bodies, we have a difficult time loving ourselves, let alone loving anyone else. That's not a judgment. That's an understanding. You see, when we discover who and what we are in these bodies, we really start discovering it. And we start opening up all these locked doors around our hearts. And we start opening up many things. And we might see some dark areas, but we don't care. We shine the light on the dark areas, and the dark dissolves within us. And so we start, what? Developing a relationship with ourselves, building that relationship with ourselves. You do it overnight, step by step, patience, care, tenderness, kindness, deep eternal love. And then that opens the door through the heart-mind to meet the God that you actually are. Kind of an example would be, John is super strong, right? Now, John never views himself as being super strong. He just doesn't know it. He's not aware of it, okay? So John shakes hands with people and they go, geez, John, you're breaking my hand, man. You don't need to shake it that hard. Firm is great. John says, oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know my own strength. Well, just be conscious about it, man, because you almost broke my hand. Or John goes and hugs somebody. He's very excited to hug them, hadn't seen them in a long time, and he almost cracks their ribs. And so they come back and say, John, don't squeeze so hard. John says, I don't know my own strength. I'm really sorry about that. And John's very strong. It's no different for us not knowing that we're gods in these bodies and not the bodies. It's almost like saying, I'm so sorry, I didn't know that I am the God in this body and not the body. To yourself. I wish I would have discovered this a long time ago because it feels so great now. You see, it's like, have you ever been in a situation where you were doing something, right? And to you, yeah, it's something that you do. You really don't think anything like it's a big deal to you, right? Because you do it a lot. Someone comes along and says, how can you do that? That takes a lot of skill. And you say to them, really? Because you never looked at it that way. It's just something you did. And they go, yeah, I couldn't do that in a million years. But to you, it was simple. These are things that we are not consciously aware of. Just like we are not consciously aware that we're gods in these bodies. Okay? We don't give it the time of day. We don't focus on it. But as you go along this life, you begin to talk to yourself and say, I am the God in this body. I'm not this body. I love you, body. You're a magnificent machine. And since I am the commander of you, you're my ship, I will make sure that you're as perfectly running as possible. But you are the commander of the body you're in. It's the ship, but you're the captain and commander. Through this life. So in this quiet time, in this meditation, don't look for things. Let them come to you. And understand that it's through the heart, mind, not the head. So it will come to you. Listen. Focus on the breath. Be in the now. This is what we're doing. We're transitioning from out there to in here. And believe you me, once you do that, you will never care to leave the God within you again. I'll join you in the meditation and I'll return to close this out. Take an easy and slow breath in through the nose, and an easy and slow breath out of the mouth. Remain still. When we live, or when one person lives every day from what their true infinite potential is, an amazing shift will happen for everyone. A contagious reaction of a new consciousness will occur, and our whole planet will wake up. Everyone will experience themselves as this infinite source, believe it or not. The one person to start this chain reaction is you. When one person lives every day from what their true infinite potential is, an amazing shift will absolutely happen for everyone. A contagious reaction of a new consciousness will occur, and our whole planet will wake up. Everyone will experience themselves as this infinite source. Believe it or not, that one person to start this chain reaction is you. Take this with you for the rest of the day, into the evening and night, and the following morning. We will return here Sunday, November 8th, 2023, 3 p.m. Eastern, to continue our global guided meditation call. And be kind, gentle, generous, and humble with yourself in deep gratitude. Always